World War 3. Now, other than the memes on Twitter, I didn't think I'd be talking about that in 2020. World War 3 was a game that I picked up what feels like eons ago now, and didn't really enjoy. I used to describe it as playing the Battlefield 4 Alpha again, and it wasn't a very pleasant experience. But what is World War 3 like in 2020? Well folks, I'm the TacticalBrit, your home of tactical and hardcore shooters, and today we're going to be looking at an in-depth dive on World War 3 in 2020. Now, I've got to say, if I could describe this entire video in one word, I would say pleasantly surprised. I suppose that's technically two words, but you get the gist of things. Opening up World War 3 felt like I was opening up a really disgusting old piece of software that, I had to dust the cobwebs off and go where does everything go? Where is all of my things that I remember? And wow, I gotta say, I was blown away by what I saw. To start with, I was greeted with this fantastic customization menu. I remember the customization in World War 3 existing, but I didn't remember it being this extensive. Everything from uniforms to face masks to colorings to different kinds of clothing to different kinds of badges and labels. It's all there. It's incredible. You can customize everything from a cosmetic level to an armor level to a weaponry level. You can talk about more or less anything really. There is a voiceover customization. I had the British one, and I gotta say, for once, it actually felt British. It wasn't like some over-the-top Battlefield style, hello mates. It was more of like an actual, kind of what I'd expect to hear if I was shooting with a British dude. I could choose from various different badges, various different weapons, various different customizations for said weapons, various different customizations for my soldiers. And it was a very, very pleasant experience. It was something I wasn't expecting. And in some ways in the past, I kind of felt overwhelmed by all of that. But there is much better descriptive accuracy in World War 3 now. There's really good descriptions and actual statistical bars that tell me what things are doing. It tells me whether the armor plate I'm selecting is going to be efficient against rifle ammo or heavy caliber ammo or not. And it tells me what that's going to do for the overall weight of my character and whether or not that will slow me down. And I found that to be a very impressive feat. I felt as though I had full customization control, and that's something I've always wanted to see in a modern shooter. So huge thumbs up to them on that front. It was amazing to see so many weapons, so many different things that I could do, and I was thoroughly impressed with what I saw when I opened the game. And that's all well and good, but what about being in the game? Playing World War 3 in the past was not only a stuttery performance mess, but also something that I, wouldn't describe very fondly, because World War 3 for me was supposed to feel that niche market. It was supposed to be a sort of Battlefield Plus, a Battlefield hardcore mode kind of. And when I first played World War 3, it was so riddled with problems and inconsistencies that you just didn't get that feeling at all, and when you played in gunfights, they didn't feel very satisfying in any way, shape or form. Now, let's start with things like performance. I gotta say, performance for me has been impressive. I haven't had any issues, I haven't had any crashes, I haven't had any stuttering, but again, take that with a pinch of salt because I am using an i9-9900K at 5GHz and a 2080 Ti, so me saying I'm not having performance problems probably is going to feel like a slap in the face to anybody else watching this who hasn't spent an obscene amount of money on a PC. And that isn't just a weird flex, it's just I don't want you guys to hear my word and then go and buy it and find out that it doesn't run well on your rig. Definitely give it a try and mess around with settings, there are plenty to go with, but for me I gotta say I think it ran pretty well for what I was expecting. Considering the last time I played World War 3, the smoothness was very much appreciated. Next, let's talk about graphics and sound. Now, graphics is something that I don't really care too much for in video games. I'd rather a game that functionally felt well than a game that looks fantastic. And whilst World War 3 isn't the most incredible looking game in the world, it certainly isn't the worst looking game in the world either. And in fact, I've become pleasantly surprised and relatively impressed with how lifeful some of the areas feel. Whilst it isn't graphically astounding, it is nice to walk into buildings in World War 3 and feel like they've actually been used and lived in. It truly does feel as though you're embarking on an urban combat mission places where people have actually lived in, and you don't really get that feeling in a lot of games, and I feel like it's minor details like that that can go amiss, and that's certainly something I noticed from the jump. There were buildings I was walking through, there was overturned furniture, and all of it created a really great environment to enjoy the gameplay that was going on around me. And again, graphically, not the most pretty game in the world, but you know what, to be honest with you, I just don't care that much. I thought it looked okay, and provided the performance continues to improve, graphics aren't really a concern. Games that run well and feel well are better than games that look pretty, and I think we've certainly seen that problem arise in more AAA titles of late. Let's talk about sound. Sound is something that is probably going to be addressed in the future of World War III, but isn't the next major update, and we're going to talk about that very shortly. Sound in World War III is very lackluster. It's probably the least impressive or least decent thing in the game as it presently stands. Guns don't feel very punchy, the audio itself feels kind of tinny in places, and character audio and movement doesn't sound great, neither do the vehicles. I'd like to see a really big overwork on sound, and you know, just really trying to hit home with some of the feelings, because should this game nail down the sound of these weapons, nail down the sound of, you know, pulling out magazines and putting them in, and you know, all the kinds of stuff you expect from games like Battlefield and Insurgency in the modern day, I think it'll be very impressive on that front, and it's definitely an area of improvement. Now, with all of the background stuff out of the way, what does World War III actually play like? How is it like to play? This is something that bothered me when I first played it, because when I first played World War III, it felt like shooting at people didn't really matter. I know that sounds stupid, but like, when you first played it the first time round, it was so inconsistent. I'd shoot people in the head, they'd live. I'd shoot people in the chest, they'd live. I'd shoot somebody in the foot, they'd die. I'd shoot somebody in the leg, they'd die. It felt so strange about how damage works, but that's obviously been reworked over time and rebalanced, because I'm happy to say it actually felt really good. Whilst the armor system still exists in World War III, the inconsistency that it used to bring about in gunfights no longer exists, and they've done a lot to alleviate that feeling as well. Firing a full auto rifle on somebody or a sniper rifle feels punchy. You see the damage you've done, you know why you've done it as well, because everybody is wearing some kind of chest plate or helmet. And if the caliber is pretty high, like a rifle or a sniper, you're guaranteed to do damage that feels consistent and feels like it matches the gun you're using, even if they're really decked out on the armor that they're using. And should you be accurate, a face shot will kill somebody more or less instantaneously in most situations, and you can see in the gameplay here, the blue hit markers indicate I've hit the armor, but for the most part it doesn't really matter, because it's a very hardcore and fast time to kill. It's one that feels like hardcore mode in Battlefield in my opinion, and it was a feeling I enjoyed. You know, the gunplay isn't the most punchy in the world and doesn't sound particularly fantastic, but in terms of actually getting kills and, you know, making accurate shots to get those helmet shots and, you know, make sure you're stripping away people's armor and not hitting their direct chest plates and stuff, that was a really good feeling. And I gotta say, after playing it for, you know, a couple of games today, I was wanting more. I wanted to kill more. I wanted to try new guns. I wanted to try different things. And I think that's probably the most impressive aspect. That inconsistency of gunplay no longer exists, and we now have something that feels functional and something that feels enjoyable, which is something all hardcore and tactical shooters should strive for. And now World War III has that. It's a great thing to have. I'm still a little bit iffy about the whole kill streaks thing. I feel like they're just an unnecessary addition. For the most part, I found that using stuff like, I don't know, talking about stuff like the mini hand drone that I had, you know, where I could use a drone to surveil an area and then push in with my rifle or sniper rifle. I enjoyed that kind of stuff, but over-the-top airstrikes and UAVs and stuff feels quite excessive in my opinion. I'd actually like to see that stripped back and given to like either a command role or some kind of top-down element. Let there be commanders like in Battlefield. Let there be, you know, maybe perhaps a strategy element or a different kind of top-down perspective. I don't think that should be a power that every individual player in the game should have, and I think it's something that should be used relatively sparingly. It would encourage communication, and it would reduce some of the chaos you feel sometimes in the game. I can't really speak on vehicles too much because I didn't really use them, but it appears that the people that did were having a good time just speaking to them in game and hearing what they had to say. And whilst they're probably not in the best of places, again, it is an ongoing process, but it was nice to see some variants of IFVs, tanks, and other various kinds of vehicles that were available on maps, and they didn't feel too overbearing. There was plenty of cover to maneuver away from them, so infantry players just didn't feel trumped whenever they saw a single tank or infantry fighting vehicle. All in all, I've got to say I was incredibly impressed with my experience with World War III today, but it gets even better. World War III is actually coming out with an update for the new animation system. Not only are they improving things like data streaming and how the game plays, and they've been improving stability and performance, it's incredible to find out that they're actually overhauling the entire animation system, and this is my biggest criticism of the game. When you run around in World War III, it almost feels as though the animation system doesn't fit the shooter you're playing. It feels like the game and the shooter is this real hardcore experience that, has this sort of kind of a good feeling to it, but the animations don't seem to match it. Imagine having the gunplay of Insurgency Sandstorm, but not having the animations of Insurgency Sandstorm, and having something like CSGO. That's kind of what World War III feels like right now. It feels like the animation system doesn't quite fit with what the game's trying to do. But there's lots of footage online and blog posts about it now, and they're doing an entirely new animation system, which is coming out very soon, and it makes it a very exciting prospect. I've got to say, I really do feel as though with my current experience playing today, World War III is perhaps on a new high. It's certainly coming back to what I wanted it to be as a shooter, and I feel as though it's got a future ahead of it with Farm 51. If you're somebody considering getting back into the game, I'd recommend waiting for the new animation overhaul, because that will include a number of fixes and changes as well. There'll be an overall good addition to the game, and with a new animation system, it will feel like coming back into a brand new game. I really do feel as though 2020 could be the year for this game if they continue to update as they have and continue to work hard on some of these systems. And with a new sound system and new animation system, I feel like this game could go into an incredibly good place. So folks, that's it from me today, TheTacticalBrit. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a thumbs up, and if you aren't subscribed and want to see more tactical shooters like Squad, Postscriptum, World War III, Insurgency, Battlefield, and more, feel free to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for more videos, and I'll see you guys again soon in another video.